All right, popping on. Hey now. Hello, everybody.
Good morning, Peter.
Good morning, everybody. Cameras on, people. We're gonna get to know each other. Katie, can you shut my door? Thank you. Good morning, everybody. We got a full room and only 4 people on camera. Turn them on.
Yeah, Peter, I can't today. I gotta take the dogs to the vet. My wife scheduled it at the same time as this, so
Okay. All right.
sorry about that.
All right. Good morning, everybody. We'll give everybody one more minute. How's everyone doing this morning? Taylor, how are you this morning?
I'm excited.
Cool. Usaya's coming in. What's up, Gordon?
Morning.
Morning.
How's it going?
Fantastic. Fantastic.
I'm going to take this on the road with me in a couple minutes.
Okay. Okay. All right, we're going to start now. All right. All you other scaredy cats, turn your cameras on. This is gonna be interactive. Morning, Colleen. Hello, Emma.
Morning.
All right. So, welcome to my listing class. I'm opening up my books and showing you all how I win listing appointments and how I am able to create the win often before we even start having a real estate conversation. So, oh, we got more people popping in. Morning, Tina. All right.
Oh, morning.
Morning. All right. So I get more people calling in to try to get in. So maybe we'll give everyone another minute. Let's take a minute. I'm gonna grab 5 people randomly and ask them what they're grateful for. Colleen, let's start with you. What are you grateful for this morning?
I wasn't prepared to be on camera or speak today.
That's not fair. I thought this was like a webinar, not a Zoom that we had to watch and like interact. Um, so I'm grateful for my husband. He puts up with this crazy business that we're all in, and even went to dinner last week with a lender and was like, I like that lender. You need to work with them more often. So grateful that he's willing to share his opinion sometimes.
Cool. Cool. Taylor, what are you grateful for?
I am grateful to be in this Zoom with you guys. As far as real estate goes, sometimes it's a dog eat dog world, and obviously not being from Remax, I feel very blessed that, Peter, you gave me this opportunity to join you guys, and to learn and hopefully make some connections with you guys. And then moving forward, just doing deals and making them very, very smooth transactions.
Cool. Cool. All right, let's get somebody that's not on camera to tell us what they're grateful. KV, my old buddy. KV, what are you grateful for?
Hey guys, I am about to turn on my camera. I'm having some issues through my phone, so I'm turning on my laptop, so bear with me. But what am I grateful for? First of all, I'm grateful for my parents for raising me up the way I am. Thank you so much. And second, I'm grateful to be in this country because this country has given me so much, not just the education, but a world full of opportunities. And I'm thankful to myself also because I believe everybody in this country has those opportunities, not only in real estate, it could be any other field, but do they really capitalize on them or not? So thanks a lot.
Thank you, KV. By the way, KV just quit his full-time job to
Thank you.
go into real estate. He's doing an amazing job. So congratulations, KV.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Gordon, what are you grateful for?
Grateful for my 3 healthy boys, and their attempts to kill me on a daily basis. Wouldn't trade it for anything. My wife, who has been up all night with the youngest on a regular basis, who's 4 months, and that allows me to focus and sell real estate. So, yeah, grateful for the family.
Okay. All right, we got one more and then we're gonna get started. Tina. Tina, what are you grateful for? You got your mute on.
How did I know you would pick on me? So I am very grateful for my community right now because, like my Shirley community, I'm grateful for you guys too. But so did you guys hear about that cat rescue that had the big fire and the guy who runs it died and a bunch of cats died. So anyway, so I'm a cat lover. So I just posted in a couple of Facebook groups in Shirley that I'm gonna be a collection site, and then I'm gonna be taking collections until the 9th and dropping off on the 10th because I'm going out of town on the 11th. And I just put it on less than an hour ago, and I'm already like writing down all these people that are either going to drop off or I'm going to pick up by them. Or so yeah, the community is coming together, which is awesome.
Well done. Well done. All right, with that, we're gonna kick it off. So this is the first time I'm presenting this in an organized way. Oh, here comes the real KV. The first time I'm presenting this in an organized way. So if you have any suggestions on how I can make it better when this is over, please let me know. All right, so let's start with the first phone call. So the way I want to cover this is how do we win listing appointments where you can lose them, right? That's most important is because obviously if your mom calls you, we want to treat this all exactly the same because we want to create an expectation. We want to create a brand. We want to create repeatable business, and we can only create repeatable business if we repeat what we constantly do. So the things I'm about to show you, I am asking you to whatever you think compels you to do these things to steal. I want you to steal what will work for you. But when you do it, when you steal it, you do it for everybody. You make rules on when these things are going to happen. Because even if your mom calls you to say, hey, honey, can you come look at my house and just tell me what it's worth and what it's going to be? You do all these things the exact same way because you may have that listing locked up, I hope, but you want to create expectations that mom can talk about to her friends. So if you're not creating those repeatable expectations, then you are not building a brand, you're not building a business, you're just running around trying to do a job. And every one of you is running a business. And every business that we know that's successful, Nike, the Hyatt, DoubleTree, they all have a way of being. They have a process that if their mom showed up to their hotel, they are going to get the same. They're going to get the same treatment. They're going to get the same. DoubleTree gives cookies when you walk up there. They're going to get the same cookies. Mom's going to get the same cookies. So you want to create that expectation for whatever you do. So I get the call that somebody is thinking about selling their house, and maybe they're calling me off a mailer. Maybe I got them off of Google. Maybe I met them at a barbecue. And we set and I take the call, and my goal for the call is to get a short outline of what they're looking to do, understand their goals within 2 to 3 minutes, just enough that I can create something personal. And if there's a gap in time, like if I'm not going there in hours, then I immediately mail them a box of cookies. And I mail them a badass box of cookies, by the way. I'm going to show you that in a second. And the reason why I'm mailing them this box of cookies, I'm going to show you that everything that's involved in the cookies, is I want to do a few things. I want to set a tone and a narrative. And what I send out is so professional and also so caring that I am creating the framework and the narrative that I'm the professional and I care. And when they get what I'm about to show you, their guard is dropped a little bit. Because now what's going to happen when people take on listing appointments on the other side, then when the seller wants to have you in, they don't know what to expect. They don't know what questions to ask. They're nervous. They're defensive. They don't want to say the wrong thing. They don't know what to do or who to trust. And they're going to initially, if I go there, what I call dry, if I show up dry without preempting and creating this framework, then I have a lot more work to do. And what you're going to see is I'm going to do most of the work. I'm going to do most of the psychological work before we ever talk real estate. So I want to create this thing, and this actually was said back to me a week ago when I locked up a listing in Huntington. The words were said to me, Pete, if you can market your house, if you can market my house as good as you market yourself, I'm going to be just fine. And that's a narrative you want to create. You want to walk in there and have authority. Everything is about positioning and allowing them to drop their guard and let you lead. So you can either do that dry when you get there and have this struggle and play this psychological game where you're playing catch up and you're trying to take control of the narrative, or you can preempt it. So I will immediately overnight a box of cookies, and I send them with a company called Cookies, Bites, and Bombs. And it lands on their doorstep. And it lands on their doorstep with a little bit of branding. Do you see that? A custom handwritten note. Now, I wrote you guys a note. Dear students, I really appreciate your trust in letting me give you my listing presentation insights. I know you will take what you learn and make it your own and create the life you desire. Congratulations, Peter Grosso and team. Now, you open this up with a box of cookies with a giant, these cookies are 1 pound a piece. Again, I'm branded on the cookies, right? Look at I have giant hands. If you ever shaken my hand, you know I have a big hand, right? This is the cookie. Okay. They're amazing. But I'm not done. I also send them a personal video inside the cookies. Now, this is my video postcard.
I don't think the sound's on the video.
Okay.
I don't know if
All right. So I'm talking, you can't hear me. I'm talking to you. So basically, and this is the other side of it. You guys can hear me, right?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so the video's talking to you directly, and telling you that this is the video postcard and this is why I do it. And then I have little Pocket Pete stickers in there. And now I am also sitting in their kitchen the whole time. Anybody else that shows up to that listing appointment is probably going to see my face and my cookies, right? And what I'm doing is I'm creating that professionalism. I'm also creating the right level of guilt, right? So imagine someone else, imagine Tina, who's an amazing listing agent, shows up and she does her amazing listing presentation and she creates that trust. They're still going to go, we probably should at least meet Pete because he gave us those cookies and I feel guilty, right? So Tina's not going to get the ink that day just because I stuck some guilt into the whole situation. So it's really powerful in creating that actual appointment to happen. Because if they're meeting, the saying is you want to be the first or the last, right? Now I'm creating a situation where I'm definitely getting that appointment, or at least setting up the probability that this appointment is so powerful that this appointment, a powerful probability that this appointment is going to happen, which adds hundreds of thousands of dollars to my net worth because I've created a situation where I wouldn't have got it, not because I'm not good, not because I'm not creating the right presentation, but because it gets me to the presentation. So they get the chance to do the listing. Taylor, you had a question? Talk to me. You're muted. Unmuted. Okay.
So, and this might be like a whole nother presentation, so I might be like jumping the gun. What is the setup? And obviously, like this lady that owns this cookie business has to benefit, right, from doing all this. Like she's putting a lot of stuff together for you as far as like, are you setting her up with the box? Like how much are you doing? How much is she doing? Like what does that look like?
I love that question. So I give her a whole bunch of custom cards. I get her the stickers. I get her all the things that go in there. And I keep it super simple because here's the thing we all are is we all are, if we're salespeople, we're most likely ADHD, start something, don't finish it, create all the, we have great intentions and great ideas and shit does not get done, right? So I try to create a world in which all I have to do is have the idea. That's my business. Is I'm the smart guy with great ideas and that doesn't do shit, right? Like I'm aware of who I am and who we are. So I text her all I gotta do is get this far, and even sometimes that's tough, right? And I need to text her, because she has all the things, the name, the address, and what to handwrite in the note. So I don't handwrite the notes. She handwrites the notes. Because I'm not gonna remember to, I'm gonna go to the next thing, I'm gonna do the thing, and I'm gonna forget to make the feels. My job is to think of the feels. My job is to create the narrative that I want to create for these people and come from the right experience, but I need to also think of the ways in which I am a failure and which I lack and which I don't have the capacity to do, and just accept that here's where I'm fantastic, here's where I'm not, and how do I compensate for the not? And I compensate for the not by creating a situation where I'm texting her, boom, done. I get to forget about it. And I only have to get the thank yous and the wows by either the phone call or when I show up to the appointment. Any other questions?
Do you send her that box, or the box is
No, that's
branded
your
to
box.
her?
That's
Oh,
her.
okay.
Yeah. Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So now I have set myself apart for now from all of you. Now I will not send now here's the thing. Everything I'm teaching you, you know how comfortable I am in teaching you, 1% of you are going to do it. By the way, 1% of you are going to do it. And it's that 1% that's going to fundamentally change their business.
But you have to find the person that's good. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to find the right
I'll give
partner
you them.
too.
I was just gonna say that, like, we might have we can try to go to the same cookie lady as you do, but she might tell us to F off because she's like, I'm already dealing with Peter and all his stickers and all his shit. Like, I'm not putting everybody's face on a cookie, right? So like, we have to find our own cookie people now, which might be a little harder, you know what I mean?
I actually, that probably is a separate conversation about how to find these people, but
Yeah.
I'm happy to have those conversations. But I've already prepped her that I'm teaching. I share her a lot.
Okay.
I have a clients that they manage private flights. So like if I want to go to Texas for 20 grand, I can get my own private flight. That's what the business she runs. She's now putting the cookies in them because she's my client. I mailed her the cookies. So like, I'm happy to share them, and I think they're happy to, to take on the business. So,
yeah, I think, Pete, listen, the cookie lady, we all know the cookie lady is amazing,
mhm.
right?
Yeah.
She does a lot for us, and I'm in the same situation that you're in. Like, we text her and she sends out my cookies and everything's good. So I'm sure she'd be thrilled to get more business.
Right.
But I think what Peter's trying to say is it's not really about cookies. It's just about sending something. It could be anything that you think is cool for you. There's a million different things on Amazon and all different websites that you can go on and figure out what you want to send. It doesn't have to be cookies. It could be anything that's going to separate you from other people they may be seeing.
Right.
Yes, there's a local person in my neighborhood that does like chocolates. So I'm thinking about talking to her.
Yeah.
But, she's a stay-at-home mom, and I don't know if she'll be able to react like your cookie lady does, like in hours. That's the
Before I
problem.
had the cookie lady, I had Amazon, and I was overnighting biscotti cookies with a note in there.
Okay.
So like, and Joe, obviously we have agents here that know a lot of my routine already, so they've taken on a lot of this. But you can also, I still use Amazon as a custom idea. So I was just in a situation where like I was trying to set up an appointment, a listing appointment, and I called the guy and he's like, "Hey, today's my last day of work. I'm retiring. Can you call me tomorrow?" I immediately went into ChatGPT. I said, "Guy's retiring. This is what I know about him, yada, yada, yada." And it spit out 20 ideas. And I sent him a candle that said, "Smells like it's not your problem anymore." And then
That's awesome.
yeah. So I locked up that listing by just being custom to that situation. So when in doubt, Amazon it out. I just came up with that, by the way. Any other questions? Okay,
I'm writing that down, by the way. When in doubt.
Amazon it out. Okay. All right. So now we have the appointment, we've established the authority. I want to talk about way of being. This is the most important part of the listing presentation, is you and who you are and how you show up. And too often we show up wanting to sell them, and we want to sell them because we are afraid of ourselves. We are afraid of not getting it. We are afraid of trying to prove to them that we know what we're doing or that we're good at what we do. And so we show up with this, hey, look at me. This is what I do. This is who I am. And we data dump on them instead of showing up wide. And what I mean by that is I want everyone, before you go into a listing appointment or any interaction where you have to show up with leadership, and I want you to do this. I just want you to stretch out. I want you to be wide. I want you to feel that you own this space. This is who you are, and you deserve to be in that room, and you're in control. Because too often what we do is, because we don't even know we're doing it, but our way of being is tight. It's inward. And the more we're in, the more we're sending these signals to the people across from us that we're unsure, that we don't know if we belong there, that we don't. So like, and if anyone who knows me and observes me will know that I am constantly, I speak like people get hit by accident by me when I'm telling stories, because I am living this wide being, this wide life. And what I'm actually displaying is I am super comfortable in my skin, in my space, in my knowledge. And that is tremendously important as a nonverbal signal to getting the listing. And to getting any persuasion that you actually want to do comes with authority, and the authority comes from comfort. So when I walk in that room, I forget to talk about myself often, because I have this way of being that I got this, I got them, I want to hear about them, and I want to understand exactly what they have going on. And I am open and I'm comfortable, and I have this place where like I'm showing up to hear your story, and I'm showing up to understand what your goals are and what you want out of this. So when I walk in that door, first of all, the first rule of Listing Club is never show up empty-handed. So I show up with a bakery box with my face on it. Okay, can everyone see that? So I have a bakery box with my face on it. And it says Sweet Pocket Pete, give him a call. He's a friend of a friend. It's got all the things. And we have plenty of sweets and pastries and things like that. And before noon, I show up with a big box of donuts with my face on it. So, and these are the greatest donuts known to man. Let me see if I can get this open. I actually have an appointment right after this that these are going to, so I better not drop them. But these
You better hope these people aren't diabetic.
Tina, I'll tell you what, they don't care. I'll tell you why.
I'm just kidding.
No, but I get that.
Yeah.
But I'm doing two things. I'm showing up, handing them, hey, I brought you this, right? Which the message I'm sending is I didn't just come to this appointment right from the office and it's all business. On the way, I stopped at a bakery. I went to a different place. I stood online. I pointed at pastries and I had it wrapped up, and I paid money, and I walking to your door to hand you something. The message is more guard dropping, right? It says, this is personal. It says,
Mhm.
I care and I went out of my way. That's why it's not Dunkin' Donuts. That's why it's bakery. Because you're sending a very clear, unspoken message. And they'll say, I didn't have to do that. They'll go, Pete, you didn't have to do that. Thank you so much. Oh, how sweet. Oh, cannolis. I love cannolis. You know, you get all that. And and when they say you don't have to do that, I always say, my mother taught me to never show up empty-handed. And I'm establishing core values in one sentence, right? And with those core values, I'm dropping more guards. Oh, this guy has values. This guy is not going to rip me off. This guy, I can be more comfortable telling him what I have going on, what my fears are, what I want to accomplish, and why I am afraid I might not accomplish it. Because until we actually know what they're really afraid of when they drop that guard, when those defenses are, we cannot address them. If they're not addressed, they don't feel safe. If they don't feel safe, they're not signing. So we need to create these nonverbal actions that drop their guard, get them to open up. And that's why when they say, do you want to see the house? I say no. Because quite honestly, I don't give a shit about the house. I don't. I've seen 6 million houses. They're all the same. There's 7 differences. I can scan you, and you all can do it too. I can scan a house from the doorway and go, all right, I know what the price of that. Right? I already know, like, if the kitchen looks like this, the bathroom looks like that. If the bathroom's over here, this is this type of cape. So so this is where everything else is. I know, I know. But what do I care about and what do I want to do? I want to say no and say, can we sit down? Because I now am saying I'm in control. I know how to handle this, right? And I know how to guide you. So even when they want to start leading, I want to take that away from them subconsciously. I want to say, no, you don't have to do this anymore. You don't have to lead anymore. I'm going to guide you through this. I'm going to say that without saying it. And I'm going to go to the table and sit with them. And first thing I say is, and I pause like this. So what's the goal? What are we trying to do here? And I leave it super vague because I want them to say all the words. I want them to let it all out and dump on me. And then I also know, like, if they start to let it out and they really start talking, I've already disarmed. If they're short and they're giving me short answers, means I have more work to do, right? Because they're not quite there yet, which means that they're super guarded. I mean, stuff happened in their childhood, right? Because all the things I've done so far, if they haven't sent that message, then next appointment comes with a psychiatrist, right? But I know I have my signals. What do and you start to learn their personalities, and sometimes you have to do a lot of mirroring in this business, where the personality that comes out of the person is the personality that they digest the best. So the wife might be displaying her fears in an open, vulnerable way. Hey, I'm feeling it, and I may have to reach off and touch her arm and say, this is how we're going to do it. Everything's going to be okay. And the husband might be barking at me, and I have to bounce from sweetness to actually, sir, I disagree with that, and I'll tell you why. And you have to be comfortable having the authority and mirroring what they're doing. So what a lot of people do is they will say yes and agree and go with the things, even if you're not totally sure, if you don't know that you don't totally agree with what your seller's saying, you're afraid of conflict. You're afraid of setting it off where they think they're right. But the reality is they want to be led. And how you guide them is really important. And it's really, really super simple. Listen, not in my experience. That's a really important, not in my experience. I'll tell you what I see. And now we're creating leadership, and we're telling them this is what is actually happening out there, because the number one fear that people have is being outside the norm. So we're always going to speak in groups. We're always going to speak in a way that allows people to feel like I'm not outside the crowd. So when you're trying to tell them what they should do, it doesn't help to go, here's what you should do. It really helps to say, here's what a lot of my people have chosen to do. Because now they want that's the safe place. That's where people are actually doing things. I want to be in the crowd. I'm nervous right now because I've never done this before, or it's been 20 years, or I've done it once or twice. So I want to seem like I know what I'm talking about, but I'm kind of scared and I don't know what is right and wrong. So I frame it like, this is what a lot of my people have been doing. And this is what a lot of my people have chosen to do. And now that you're not telling them what to do, you're giving them the power to choose the thing you think they should choose. So that is really important, is you always think about describing things to them in a way that other people have done, and tell stories. When you want to get something across to them, you tell them what you think they should do, and you tell them a story about when it happened. If I want them to lower their price, or if I want them to have a price at a certain place, I'll say, here's my experience. And I'll tell you, and I say it with enthusiasm, this just happened to me. I have a house in Mastic that we were selling for this, or I have this Holbrook house, and here's what happened. And I'll tell a story about how it all worked out. Any questions about any of that? Because I'm going to move on to how to disarm them from their listing price.
Going back to when you show up with donuts or cookies to a listing appointment, has anybody ever said something like this to you? You're trying too hard to just get me signed today.
If they do, I'm down. There's no statement that isn't telling. So if they create that statement, they're in mega defense mode, right? So we have guard drop. So it's just a signal. So I haven't had that, because again, it's my way of being too. So I'm showing up.
Can I interject for a second?
Sure.
I've been bringing Danish in the morning, cookies in the afternoon, and they are so disarmed when I do that. You've become a guest in their home, and they're usually running to make coffee.
Right. Oh, that's
so
I actually forgot to mention. When we sit at the table, here's another defensive thing we do as in other people's homes, is we don't want to bother, right? So they'll say, you want some coffee? You want some water? Can I get you a drink? Guess what? The answer is yes. Because we want to go, no, I don't know. Don't bother. I don't want to bother you. I don't want to be a bother. But reciprocation is how relationships are made. So the answer is yes. And make it water, or make it something that doesn't disrupt you. I don't eat. They'll take a plate out. They'll give me a plate, and I don't eat the things, because if I ate every pastry I brought, I'd be 400 pounds. So I have to not eat them. So I have a one-liner. So they go, please, have one. Come on. And I go, I'm sorry, I never get high on my own supply. And that is another quick one-liner that disarms, and keeps me in a relationship, and allows me to still accept a water, or I'll have coffee, or whatever. So I'm taking that reciprocation, but I'm not stuck eating 12-pound donuts and things like that. So, any more questions on what the hell? Oh, My screen disappeared. I thought you all went away. Any more questions on this portion? Okay. All right. So now let's disarm the people on their prices. So what's going to happen is people have a number in their head. If you're too high, you're an idiot. And if you're too low, you're insulting them and you're not the person for the job, right? And that's the number one thing that we always stress about. How do we read them on their sweet spot? How do we, do we ask them what it is and then adjust from, like, try to find the safe space that's not insulting to them or allows them to sign because it's not so far from the number that they said, or do we just flat out tell them what we think you should list the house for? It's a tough moment, right? So I undid the whole thing. I didn't like it, so I figured out a way to undo the whole thing. I actually don't care about what the house is worth. And I'll make that clear there. I don't care what the house is worth. I use some very important keywords and I disarm it from what the worth is and I change the focus. So they'll say, well, what do you think it's worth? I go, I have a number that I think it might go to, but here's more importantly, I want to talk to you about what you should list the house at, what price you should list the house at now. And this is where I create the disconnect. I say, I don't want you to think about the listing price. The asking price is actually what we're asking for. And I put my hands like this, I make it like we're begging. Like it's not what we're asking for. The listing price is part of the marketing. And that's something I really need you to understand in order to maximize your circumstances. Now I'm in teaching mode, right? I'm not in sales mode. So I'm saying this is something I really need you to understand so that you can maximize your circumstances. Because that's really what they want to do, right? They may have a number in their head that they want to be stubborn on because that's their defenses. Because they don't know exactly how to pick a realtor. So they're going to name commissions and they're going to ask what they think the house is worth, whatever they can think of that helps them differentiate people, right? But now I flipped it on them. I brought a whole new mindset to them. So I don't want you to think about the listing price, the asking price, as what we're actually asking for. I want you to think about it as part of the marketing. Because my job for you when choosing the asking price, and by the way, what I like to say, and this is what I say, this is not what I'm telling you, this is actually word for word I say. What I like to say is, I'm your advisor, you're my boss. So I'll list it at any price you want, but I'm going to advise you based on everything I've learned, what you should do to create the best outcome, to maximize your circumstances. Now, so that's why I never list a house with a 9, unless it starts with a 9. And they'll go, and they don't even know what that means, right? But I've already set up differentiation with every other realtor. So now I'm creating a different mindset and a separation. And all you realtors that put 9s at the end of your listings, I'm going to make you look dumb. Okay? And I'm going to do it so I can differentiate myself from you guys. And because I believe this wholeheartedly. So my job is to get you in front of the most amount of people most likely to buy your house. That is how we're going to maximize your circumstances. And our photos, our 3D tour, our target marketing ads, all those things are going to be fantastic. But the number one thing we're going to do is price your house at the spot that gets you in front of the most amount of people most likely to buy your house. Notice how many times I squeezed in that sentence, right? Because I want them to hear and embody that that's the real thing that is important, right? And then I'll say, because if I get you in front of the most amount of people most likely to buy your house, we are really going to know what your house is worth and you're going to get every penny you deserve. Right? So now I haven't even named a number, but I have their whole mindset completely shifted. And they are now in a position to really like on the edge of their seats, right? And what I'm going to say is, I hate nines unless it starts with a 9, because what happens now, and it's still, we have real estate stuck in this, and pretty much the whole world is stuck in this, is we have this 1950s marketing strategy. And I'm sure we all know this. If we walk into a deli and they have water, if they give me water, I'll take the water. Usually they give me a bottle of water. And I go, if I walk into a deli and I wanted to buy this bottle of water, for some reason I wouldn't pay $1, but I guess I'd pay 99 cents, right? Because I'm not paying $1. And that's the idea of the marketing strategy of 1950s, that psychology. But the way the world works now, the price actually is the store. And what I mean by that is people search in price brackets. And if they're searching in price brackets, they're only in the store in which they put the price bracket in. So I want to be on a straddle bracket. Now, a straddle bracket is a price that covers multiple searches. This way, we're in front of the most amount of people most likely to buy your house. So if I think your house is worth $590,000, or I think your house is worth $610,000, I'm going to list your house at exactly $600,000, because I want to be in front of the most amount of people most likely to buy a house, and that happens when people are searching between 550 and 600, 500 and 600, and 600 and 650, and 600 and 700. If I took off that dollar and I priced at $599,000, I have just cut off the rich half of my audience. And I let that sink in for a second, and I go, whoa, he just doubled my marketing audience with one little dollar. Now, any of you that follow me or came before me that said, you know what, I'd list your house at $599,000. It sounds like they said it like this now, right? They thought, wow, that last person doesn't know what they're doing, right? So I have now differentiated myself from the whole rest of the world, right? And I gave them an idea and a real marketing process, because this is real. And I don't have to pinpoint an exact number. And then I say the other most important thing we want to do is price it at or below on a straddle bracket that is below what it will likely appraise at. And I'll tell you why, Mr. or Mrs. Smith. Because now I want to frame it that we're not asking too much, right? So that we're in the zone that's going to get them the most amount of money and maximize the circumstances. So I say we always want to be in the right negotiating position. If we're not in the right negotiating position, then I'm not doing my job. So I'm advising you to price it at or below what it'll appraise at the closest straddle bracket, because the way the world works right now since COVID is prices have been going up every year, and sometimes the appraisers can't catch up with it, right? So we may ask 600 and get 650, and we're in a great position because we've attracted all the people, they fought for it, and somebody offered $650,000. And now, because there's multiple people making offers, we get to ask for them to let go of the appraisal contingency. And then I explain what the appraisal contingency is. And I said, when we're in that position, we get to say, we said the house is worth 600. You're telling us it's worth 650. Are you willing to pay the difference? And if we're in that negotiating position, quite often they're willing to work with us because they're scared. They love your house. They're in love. They're envisioning 20, 30 years of happiness. So yeah, they're going to drop that. And by the way, if they don't, I have other tricks to make it happen. If we want to keep that 650, but it's quite often we may have a 645 that will waive the appraisal contingency, and you have the safest possible chance of getting what you're actually getting. Now, Mr. or Mrs. Smith, if you ask 650 and they just said yes, it has to appraise at that number. And if it doesn't, that appraisal contingency will be in there and will be in the worst negotiating position because all the other potential buyers are already gone. That's why I want to set you up in the most powerful position to negotiate and to create a world in which all your expectations are met. And I can't guarantee you what's going to happen, but I can guarantee you I can set you up with the best chances of creating a great outcome, and that I have all the tools to react to whatever happens. Do you have any questions?
Can you say that all over again so I can record you?
I
I'm
have it
just
on my
kidding.
Claude notes. I can, but and you can embody that, like you can put that in your own words and your own process. But essentially, I am creating separation. I am showing authority. I'm creating a marketing intelligence that literally, this happened to me recently. We just listed a house this week, and one of the hurdles was that he said I presented so well, he's nervous I'm too good to list his house. Because he's afraid I'm going to be so popular that I won't have time for him. That was an objection. And obviously I had an answer for that objection, and his house just got listed, but that was the concern. Now, if you leave with the type of awe that I'm seeing in a lot of you, you get to pick your listing price, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Right? You get to pick commission too. Right. And so let me answer any other questions you have on this, and I'll talk about how I present commission structures.
Are you showing up with comps, Peter, or you're just like that confident?
Here's no, I never show up with paper. I show up with cannolis.
Okay.
Yeah. And that may be a flaw in my game, quite honestly, because I strut into a room and I have all my psychology laid out and all. So I do, if any of you have things that you can share with me, that I do want to make a packet just to hand to leave to tell, because I will go and, oh yeah, and I'll be at this point I go, by the way, totally forgot to tell you about me. Right? Before I talk commit, I go, totally forgot to tell you about me. Let me tell you a quick story. I'll tell you who I am and what I do. And you all should have that pitch for yourselves too. And I'll lay out
certain personalities that like I know I've come across that are very like kind of like your Vanessa, like, you know what I mean? Like very number people, like those type of people, like they might want to see comps. They might want to see things that have sold, or they're asking questions like, oh, well, you know, last year my neighbor sold their house and it sold, I know it sold for, 50,000 over, like.
Yeah. And I address that with my laptop. I have my laptop with me. I go, let's do it together.
Okay.
And I go, I like to show you exactly what I'm seeing and why. And then I'll leave there. And I do have a lot of appointments where they'll want more information, and I create a video right after and I send it to them. I'll share this with you now. I was going to make it part of this, but here I do this here. So here's right after the listing appointment. This was one of actually the guy that thought I was too good. He asked me for my meeting went really quick, my 1:30 meeting. So, hey guys, it was a pleasure spending time with you today. My meeting went really quick. So I'll show you, and then we can discuss. As you said, Builder's Acre, and it's the opportunity for people to spend more money. So that's in your favor. Okay. And I lay out a whole garage, looks a little beat up at 680. And if I had to make an adjustment for the square footage and the condition, I'm probably going to come down to high sixes. And they got 680. So again, we're in that range. We do. And as far as commissions are concerned,
We're, again, in total, it's 4%.
So I go into different, like I lay everything out, right? So I do a whole presentation there. So now,
So
your-
Peter, just real quick,
Yep.
what I do is after I send them cookies and all that stuff, what before my listing appointment, I send that video before I get there. And I don't talk about commissions and I don't talk about what I think their home is worth, or I don't try and appraise it. I just give them a basic like overview of like this is what's going on in your neighborhood to
Mhm.
kind of just plant the seed of where a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house in Comac is going for. So when I do get there to the listing appointment and I ask them what they're thinking about, like what is your dream price that you want for your home, I feel like they have a better understanding of what's happening in the area, and that price is, for me, a little bit more realistic.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that.
The other thing is, again, like when you're talking about separating yourself from other people, no one else does that. So I make sure I get their email addresses. I use BombBomb. I send them a video, an email, and they really appreciate it. And a lot of people will say to me, like, you're the only one that sent us cookies or something. But then this whole like, and I try and keep it like 10 minutes. I don't want to talk too much. But like this whole video that you sent us was amazing.
Mhm.
And then the other thing is, I feel like this works for me too, is they get to see and feel my mannerisms, my faces. Like I want them to kind of know me before I walk in the door. So that's where the video helps me.
Right. I love that. Yeah, we are at Remax Integrity Leads, we do discuss video presentations and a lot of stuff that we can do with video all the time because that it is a powerful, powerful tool. And Joe's amazing at that. So is Crystal, and a lot of our agents are really good at that. Okay. Any other questions about that? So yeah, so yeah, video helps that a lot. Because I don't like bringing comps. I don't like, they're not, I'm of the mind they're 90% of the time they're not going to read it. They're certainly not going to read it in front of me. Like if they're grabbing the paper and they're just pretending because they're nervous and they're stressed and they're like, all right, how long do I pretend to stare at this and then put it down and go, I'm not signing, or like whatever, like whatever, because they're in the moment, they're not in their reading mindset. So I think it's good to leave things. I think it's good especially if it's a unique marketing thing that has about you as well. I think that's powerful. But it's just not my way. My way is an ADHD way where I just walk in, I do my show, and then I get the hell out. Any other questions?
I think it might be a good idea to bring something, but in a bag so that the people don't see it. And if you feel comfortable doing it your way, Pete, but if not, if you feel like you're losing them, to have the comps available.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think it's a bad idea. I think it's a good idea. It's probably a place that I just lack. And I don't need to, but I could add that to.
You know what though? I think the way that Pete does it though, I might incorporate that. I think because sometimes I think the client or the potential client thinks that we're picking the comps for what we want them to list. And if you're doing it with them in real time, they can see that you're not just picking and choosing the comps that you want to use.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love when I open up the laptop, I show them and I talk them through. This is how we do comparables. I teach them. Everything I come from a teaching place. So I said we want 3 bedrooms or more because that's its own category. Anything above 1 bathroom is its own category. We can't, and we want the same town, same school district. This is what we look to do. So I frame it out for them as an education. And as I'm framing it as an education, they listen and they let me be their leader. And that is an important way to win the day.
There's something very empowering about walking in with nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I used to walk in with papers and all these things,
Yeah.
and now my routine is more like yours, Peter, but where I just walk in with treats and gifts. And again, like everyone else is walking in with paper and presentations and packages and but I think to Karen's point, like a leave behind is cool. You need a leave behind.
Yeah. Yeah. My come from is win their hearts. That's my come from is, and
Yeah.
Joe, you've sat in with me on a listing appointment. It's been a couple years now, right? Crystal obviously has. You've seen. So am I missing anything up until the commission part, Crystal?
No.
Joe? Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Crystal?
No, I think you hit all the parts. That's good.
I am a routine, by the way, and this should be routine. Like if I've been telling the Barry story, the same exact. Joe can attest to this for 25 years. From the first time I told it to the last time, having that routine and having that rhythm really helps, where you can just lay out, you grab different paragraphs that you're going to use here and there, but like having that rhythm and that messaging is really important. And Joe, just real quick, how great is the Barry story?
It's yeah, I mean, I've been listening to it since I was yes, it's a very good story.
Okay, thank you. All right. So let's move on to commissions. How do we maximize our circumstances? Because if we have this type of skill and this type of presentation, how do we maximize our circumstance? That's really important. So one of the things that I do is one, you always read the room. Sometimes they're naming, listen, we're in mixed company right now. We have different brokerages here, so I have to for legal purposes use the word bananas and not percentage. Okay, but there are a lot of people that are just they just say this is what it is, right? It's 4 bananas, or it's sometimes you get lucky and they'll say it's 9 bananas. Like they'll say a number that you're like, that's the one. But I'd say 50% of them want to hear what you charge and how it all works. And the blessing of the NAR settlement has added so much money to my listing side, and quite frankly, our buyer side too. Crystal can attest to this. She's been amazing at getting 50% more bananas with her commission, or banana commission, her banana commission buyer presentation, that it's been a game changer. And we have to thank the lawsuit, the NAR lawsuit for this. So now, because of the NAR lawsuit, we get to present our commission structure much differently. And instead of saying we charge X amount of bananas in total, we discuss their options. So I have now had more 5 bananas or 3 bananas, and even I just got 2 6 bananas in the last month, because the structure of the NAR settlement enables us to split things up. So how much, so what's your commission? My commission is 3 bananas or 4 bananas or 2 bananas, but I get to say it's 3 bananas is what RE/MAX Integrity gets in order to market your house, do that 3D tour, price it, and I lay out all the things that we do, and that's what we get. So now it sounds like a lower number, and it is a lower number than what we previously have been compelled to say. And then I go, and on top of that, you have an option. Now I've moved on. I've said it and I've moved on. They've digested it quickly, and now I'm off to a much more important topic. Is, do they offer anything to the buyer's agents? right? So I go, I say the number, I let it soak in a second, and I go, but we have a much more important thing that we have to talk about. So recently there's been a NAR lawsuit, and I need you to understand that you have an option. You have a really important question that I'm going to present to you is, do we offer compensation to buyer's agents if they bring a buyer to your house? And you have the ability and the option to say no, or to pick the amount that you want to offer. Now, I want to just lay all this out for you so you totally understand what the risk and reward is of offering compensation to your buyer's agent. So you notice I'm already moved on. I've said my number. I don't have, and I'm on to the next thing. Now, I personally, as a very good professional real estate agent, and all of my agents at Remax Intelligence are also super professional, and they know exactly how to present an offer when they're working with a buyer. And we may offer, just nothing to a buyer's agent. We may do that, and still the buyer's agent, especially the really professional ones, will write in their compensation into the offer, and it's just part of the financing of the offer. And obviously, what we care about is not what other, and I do this wave off, not what other people are getting paid. We care about what you're netting, right? Because we may get an offer that has no compensation associated to it, and then we may get a different offer that's $40,000 more, and they're asking for 3% compensation. We want to pay that guy. We want him to get rich too, because he's bringing you so much more money. Now, what will often happen is a good agent will write in what their compensation is, even if we offer nothing. But here's the problem. 90% of the sales happen with 10% of the real estate agents. So we have a very small group of realtors that actually know what they're doing. And what I find happens is if we don't offer compensation, the agents that don't know that they're allowed to write it in won't bring their buyers. And the way I often know is whether or not an agent knows what they're doing or not is they'll text me, is the seller offering compensation? And now I know they don't know how to write it in, and if I say no, they might not show up. So what I'm asking you to do, I think the bottom line is I feel like you would benefit and net more money if we dangle that carrot to the whole world. And I'm suggesting 2 bananas is what I find it enables the incentive to bring the most amount of people, that you will benefit far more than what you're offering out if you're able to do that. So that's up to you, though. So what do you think about that, and what questions do you have? And they'll look at each other and go, "That's actually we should do that, right?" They go, "Yeah." So now I've moved on. I'm 10 miles past what I'm getting, right? I've engaged them in a thought-provoking process about what buyers are getting, and they decide yes. I haven't had a no yet. Just so you know, I haven't had a no yet on that. And then we move on to signing the listing, and that's that. That's how we end. So splitting that up, and splitting it up in a way of saying because if we're saying I'm getting that we charge 3 bananas or 4 bananas, whatever it is, then we move on. It's digestible. They move on. Then they think about, they're actually thinking of it as a bonus. I can actually make more money if I offer some out, if I offer something else out. And it's exciting to them. I've excited them about offering out compensation versus them trying to wheel and deal and negotiate about the other stuff, because we're past that. I said the thing, and I move on about the more pressing thing. Any questions about that?
Do you guys use like a seller's net sheet just to kind of even like run through numbers with them if that's what they want to see? or even like when you're presenting offers, once they start trickling in, like, do you guys use something like that?
I do it all verbally and off the top of my head. I don't bring paper. I am not a paper person. Like my whole staff knows Pete lost the paper. So it's literally, I'll sign a listing. The chance of me getting the listing is 100. Chances of me actually getting it to Katie to file is like, we're down to 90%. 10%, I'm going to have to figure out where I left it. So I am not gonna, am I right, Katie? So yeah, I got a resounding yes.
Pete, get an iPad. Have them sign on your iPad. You're not going to lose your iPad.
That's a good idea. And I do send.
That's what I do.
I do send the e-signs and stuff like that. That helps. That helps a lot.
Yeah, because then you could just you put it in GoodNotes, and then you send the GoodNotes file. You just email the whole file to
That's
Katie.
Smart. All right.
Yeah.
See, everyone's getting something here. I got something too. So yeah, so I rattle off all they usually want to know all their expenses and stuff, and that's where when I talk about the process. So part of what I'm doing in that initial sit down is I'm going, well, here's what's going to happen. Here's what it looks like. And I start selling my people in that process too. You want a pitch to sell your attorney, and I have a whole process of pitching that. Contracts need to go out there, and I'll lay out how things work and why speed matters, why choosing your attorney matters. And this is the really most important line that I use is because they're impressed with me, right? So now how do I leverage that into my people? And I'll say, I just need you guys to know, the more people you let me recommend, the more power I have to help. And I go, because your attorney, as much as he cares about you, is not going to answer me at 11 o'clock at night. Let me tell you a story. And then and obviously, remember, we sell with stories. I go, my attorney, the other 2 weeks ago, I call him, his name is Chris Dolger, and he answers the phone and it's super loud where he is. And I go, Chris, where are you? Why is it so loud? And he says, oh, I'm sorry, Pete, I'm at line on Disney. And I go, he answered and I'm shouting in their kitchen, by the way. I go, he answered the phone online at Disney World. This is somebody that I can get a hold of. If we have a problem, I can solve your problem 24/7 because I'm putting his kids through college. And I'll say it that way because I want to emphasize that I do that much business. I know what I'm doing, right? And they will go, well, you know what? My brother's an attorney, but F him. And it allows me, and Carissa, can you confirm that I shout that in the kitchen table?
Shout it, scream it, hear it down the block.
I don't think anybody doubts that.
KV, you had your hand raised?
Oh, no, my Zoom just, I think it picks up my hand gestures and I was fixing my hat, so I lowered my hand.
Got it. Okay. All right. Any questions about any of that? Has this been helpful?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
Yes, I should have recorded the whole thing because I don't know if I'm going to remember. I don't know if I'm going to be able to read my chicken scratch later.
Okay.
But I wrote down a lot of your lines that I love.
Okay.
I like the straddle bracket thing. I've never even heard that before.
Yeah, I've been doing it for years. I don't remember if I invented it or I saw it and I just stole it. I honestly don't remember.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Anyone else? Nothing?
I'm still writing. Wait.
What would you say, Pete? What's your number one lead generation to listing appointments these days?
So there's my referral business and systems, which I can teach a class on that as well. And then the second is my flip company lately with my follow-up specialist has been the last few months we've gotten a few 3 listings that were in flips, but I was able to convert them to listings, which obviously you're hitting a lot of the the same button.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry if I'm deviating from the topic of listing presentation now, how to get the listing appointments, but I'm still, I'm still very new, in my second year in real estate, but first year full time. So I want to say 3 to 6 months ago, I was generating leads for myself by cold calling. And then 1 to 3 months ago, I was getting a lot of business through networking because of all the networking I did in the last 2 years. And then for the last 30 days, all my business is coming from referrals. So it has changed so quickly in the last 6 months.
Well,
I'm gonna
KB,
need help for sure.
here's the most important thing I'm going to teach you, and by extension, everyone else, is that all the things I do, all this stuff builds referrals, right? Because I'm creating an expectation, but I have a process after this to continue that. So every person you win at a cold call, every person you win from your mailers, every person you win from your networking, you have to have a system in place to leverage that up. Because
Yeah.
it's not like, it should not be, hey, I get all my business through cold calls, boom, done. If you're not creating an experience and taking that person that's having a good outcome and have a system around making it so that they want to share you, how much money are you leaving on the table? And that's the most, we are always adding other avenues to get more business with the intention of turning that person into a lifelong advocate. So if you have not systemizing that, you are leaving so much money on the table. I haven't looked at this in years, but when I was doing Zillow personally, I built a tree to understand how much money Zillow was actually making me, and not with the initial person, but down the line of new relationships in tying them into my referral system. And this is probably 5 or 6 years ago. It looked like for every person I closed on Zillow, there were 5 more transactions associated with it because I imported them into the system. So what that means is I should be taking referrals for free because they're worth 4 other transactions, right? So when someone calls me and they're like, and this is what drives me nuts, and someone's like, they want a 35% referral fee. I told them to screw off. You just gave up 4 other transactions if you had a system. I would do for $0. I would help someone sell a house for $0 because I know, and you're seeing the confidence and the fire right now, but I'm going to show up there, wow them, wow their friends, wow their family, their aunts and uncles are going to know me. There's a pizza box with my face on it at the closing, and I'm going to be the person that lives in their world and are going to be part of their family and every transaction that ever exists. If someone does something without me, their cousin's going to yell at them.
Yeah.
That's what you want to create.
You're 100% on point. I'm experiencing that personally myself just in the last 4 to 6 weeks. Like people I have networked with, even though I have not done a business with them or even a deal that hasn't closed, it's just under contract. Those people are just so impressed that they want to start referring me to their friends and families and even their kids. And that's how more and more appointments are coming my way.
The question is, how do you create a system around making that always happen and make it differentiate from other people? Because I'm gonna say this, and then I think we got to sign off because it's getting late, and I have a listing appointment, by the way. So what you do if you're creating a brand and a business, you have to ask yourself what you can name 6 things that differentiate you from the rest of the market. And you want to create an experience and system, and obviously our team, Crystal, me, and Sandy have that, where these are your non-negotiables. These are non-negotiable experiences that when a referral happens, when a client comes in, these things happen and they're different. It's not that I was great, I was smart, I was nice, I answered the phone. It's these things are no other person in the market does it. This is my brand. Because your logo is not your brand. Your logo is a reminder of the experience that's going to happen. So, and it has to be something that's non-negotiable. Your team has to do it. You have to do it. And it has to be scalable in that it gets done whether I sell 5 houses or 5,000 houses. And that's how you create a real brand. You create a following and you create expectations that you can live up to. That's how you grow a business.
Hey, Pete,
Yeah.
Yep.
do you,
You nailed
do you
it.
think you could just touch on what you said before about agents not knowing how to write the contract and the seller is going to lose out on those people from bringing them to the house to see the house?
Want me to like do that spiel again?
If you can, real quick. I don't know if you have the time.
I'll see if I can reincarnate it. Let's see what I got. Okay. All right. So the second portion of what we have to talk about is whether or not you want to compensate buyers' agents for bringing their buyers. Now, first, here's what I want you to understand. Most agents like myself, we don't care if I'm working with a buyer, I don't care if the seller's agent or if the seller is offering compensation, because if I have an agreement with my buyer to represent them and I get compensated, I have the ability to write it into my offer. Meaning if I have a 3% agreement with my buyer to help them buy a house, I can make it part of the offer so they're financing my commission, and I'm going to tie that to my offer regardless of whether you're offering compensation or not.
Sure.
Here's the problem. And again, we don't care what someone else is getting, right? We care what we're netting. So, and I've had constant instances in which a buyer's agent sometimes will offer $40,000 more than second place, but they're asking for a 3% compensation inside the offer. And we don't care because we're excited he's getting 3%. Let him get rich because we're adding so much more money to your net worth that everybody's winning. So we don't care about what other people are, and I always do the wave off. We don't care what other people are getting. We care about what we're netting, right? But the problem is 90% of the business gets done by 10% of the real estate agents. And a lot of the other real estate agents, the average realtor sells 2 to 3 houses a year, and they just don't know how to handle the zero compensation. So what often happens when I list a house, all day I'm getting text messages from agents asking me if the seller's offering any compensation, which tells me that one, they don't know how to advocate for themselves. They probably don't know how to advocate for their buyer. But it also tells me that if I say zero, they don't know how to write in their own offer. They might not bring their buyer. So what I found is if we offer 2 bananas to all the agents, especially the ones that don't know how to react if we're offering nothing, it will net you a lot more money because the more people that we get in the house, obviously the more showings we get, the more offers you get, the more money you get. So we want to create a circumstance in which we're getting seen by the most amount of people most likely to buy a house. We're getting the most amount of showings, which equal the most amount of offers, which puts the most amount of money in your pocket. And a great way to do that is to dangle 2 bananas out to the whole world to attract them to put more money in your pocket. But it's up to you. What would you like to do?
Perfect. Thank you.
And yes, I shout. I shout through the whole thing.
And thank you for doing this. It's been a great help. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. All right. Anybody else have anything? How'd I do?
Awesome. You need a coaching program.
Okay. Yeah, actually, I may be starting that shortly.
Really? I would jump in that.
I coached somebody as a friend, and it really helped them a lot. And then I had 2 other people ask me for that. So it may be something that we're launching pretty soon.
Cool. Pocket Pete coaching?
Yeah.
I like it.
I called the good guy rule to getting rich. That's our system.
Oh, I love it. That's awesome. You would kick Daryl Davis's ass.
Thank you.
You'd take all the business.
All right. So with that, I'm going to thank everybody. If I have a recording, I'll save it and share it. And let me know. You guys, obviously, everyone can reach out to me if they have any questions or if they want to join the greatest brokerage that's ever existed. We're here for that too. And it sounds like coaching might be in the cards too. So let me know how I can help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, Peter.
Goodbye.
Bye, Pete.